Hello there, this is Charlie again, and today I want to discuss getting to know your data in SPSS. Sometimes a professor will give you a data set or even a colleague and they'll need some assistance, or you'll have a homework assignment and you're kind of given this data set that maybe you didn't set up. So when you're looking at it, how is it that you can figure it out and get to know what's going on? So this was a data set actually that a friend did a survey, a friend of mine did a survey and shared with me their data set. They've already got this all input into SPSS, all cleaned up, labeled, coded, all that good stuff, but I kind of need to get to know what it is I'm looking at. So I can see here housing type. What type of housing do you currently live? Great. But I'm not sure what the options were on the survey or how people answered. So if I click right here over in the values section and I click on that little box, I can see here what options that my colleague was able to offer the subjects that took the survey. Single family house, mobile home, military housing, houseboat, duplex, townhouse, condominium, apartment. I think I would answer houseboat if I took this just because it sounds so awesome, but I'm just kidding. We can't do that. However, I can see here, great. Looks like she has a lot of good options. And now I know there's 8 different types. Household size, total household size, great, makes sense. Children under the age of 17 living in the household, I would assume this is, yep, by numbers. So here we go. Keep in mind that if somebody answered 1, that means that they actually, if somebody answered the value of 1, the label is 0. So it's very interesting numbering. So if somebody has 0 children, then their value is actually 1. That's important. A lot of people do have that. Talk about a very meaningful 0. A lot of people do have 0 children at home. How many bedrooms in the house? Again, and there we can see that 1 equals 1, which we assume often, but that's because most people, it would be hard to find a house without a bedroom. I think that's part of the defining nature of a home. Let's see here. Religious beliefs makes sense. What following best describes your religious belief? And I can look at this and say, okay, wow, there is a lot of possibilities. So for this survey question, there was 36 different possibilities that someone could have answered. Interesting. Education, what's the highest level of school you have completed? And this is not how many years. It's divided by highest level of school, so less than high school degree or equivalent, some college but no degree, associate degree, bachelor degree, and graduate degree. Okay, so I'm kind of just getting to learn this. I can also look at my variable view, or my data view. I'm sorry, we were in the variable view. I can go to the data view and I can look at the actual data, and I can look right here, and this participant that we're going to call number 1 answered, this was this participant's housing type, household size, children, how many children, bedrooms, owner rent, their physical health, mental health, their religious belief. So I can see it by subject, each of these. So this first person was a 59-year-old white female in, I believe that's an Arizona zip code, that is non-Hispanic, that is married, that has a high school degree. So I can sort of in my mind create what part of this, what the subject was like, and I can do that for many of the subjects, and that's sort of what we do when we do descriptive data. So let's run some descriptives. I'm going to go back to my variable view, and I am going to run some descriptives. I am going to go to Analyze, Descriptives, Descriptives, and that's supposed to be over there. actually, I think we should do age. Let's do age. Let's look at our options. Age is an interval ratio scale variable. And because of that, I definitely want my mean or my average. I want my standard deviation, minimum and maximum. So I'll know what the oldest person that took the survey is, the youngest person, and then what the average is. I'm going to hit continue and I'm going to hit OK. And voila. So I had 77 participants. Youngest was 18, oldest was 70, with an average age of 42.9 and a standard deviation of 13.35. Awesome. That tells me a lot about my population. That tells me out of these 77 people, 70% of them fit between the ages of roughly 29 and 55. Did I do that right? Yeah. So that gives me a good idea of what type of population responded to this survey. I can also go into the data and I can run, and you'll notice I can run it from here. I don't have to always go back to my other window. But I can go in here and let's run some frequencies. Let's say that we want to know how many people were married. Let's look at the marriage. And for marriage, now here's the interesting thing. I'm going to check them all. But I'm going to tell you why we don't want to do this. So when we look at married, we're looking at the frequency. We can see that the mean is 2.88, the median is 3, and the mode is 1. So the mode is, if you remember, the most often. So most people answered 1. The median is what's in the exact middle of the 77 people. And the mean is, again, the average. So why we don't want the mean, I don't know if anyone can recall this back from our earlier days of stats, but we really don't want the mean because what we have is 77 people that responded whether they were married or single or divorced, but it's a scale that numerically has been made up just to represent. Let me get to marriage here. Marital, married, widowed, divorced, separated. Married, widowed, divorced, separated, never married. 2.88 falls somewhere in here, but there really is no such thing between widowed and divorced. This is a nominal data. So you can't use a mean with nominal data. We can't suggest that it's pulled in one direction or another. It just doesn't make sense. So we really want to use either mode or median. Personally, I'm going to go with mode. Makes the most sense. And I believe our mode was 1. Most people were married. Median is typically used with interval data that's got a very broad spread on it. And just to go one step further, we can go in here. Let's do a pie chart. Let's see how that turns out. And when we do our pie chart, let's do it by percentage of cases. We want to know marriage. Now this gives us a great pictorial representation of what's going on. And if I want to, I can even go in here and double click on this. If I double click on my chart or my graph, I can then adjust this and manipulate edit the chart and the graph. So let's say I want to add some labels to it. Great, that works. I have to admit that's an awfully small font for me wearing my bifocals. It's far too old to look at those tiny numbers. But bam, I changed the size of the font. Now I can see it. I can do the same thing over here in the log. This is I'm gonna mess it up a few times. I'm just telling you. Takes a little bit more time. Oh, that wasn't too bad. There we go. See, now I can read that. Ooh, that's much better. Kind of wish I could. Well, there is a way. I've done it before, I promise I have, but there is a way to get this box to fit a little bit better. Okay, let's go back down to 12. How about 12 for that? Ooh, or can we? Alrighty, well that does look better though. I can go in here if I'd like, and I can pick one piece of the pie. You can see here I've highlighted the blue area, and maybe I want to change that to a different color. I'm going to click on the color I want, and I'm going to hit apply. Boom. And there you have it. Now if I just hit enter, it's going to go right back into my output box. But the way that I've changed it, or it should, let me just exit out of this, and it's in my output box. Now I literally can right click, I can copy, I can go over to my Word document, and I can paste it. Yeah, look at that. Now I'm not going to be able to change anything once I'm in here because it's pasted as though it were a JPEG or a PDF. It's something that you cannot edit. So if you need to edit, you go back into SPSS, into the output window, and that's how you want to edit it. So let's go back to SPSS and let's look at a few other things. Let's analyze maybe age, descriptives. So age for this survey came in as how old are you in years. It's coming in as an interval ratio data, so I'm going to want to use my mean for this. So I'm going to want to use age. Did I already do this one? I did. It's right here. We already did this. Let's put a graph to this though. Let's go up to graphs, legacy dialog, and I'm going to come down here and I'm going to show you what happens if you pick a slightly ugly graph. And this is why you have to play around with it a little bit. So let's try age. Now, I'm telling you right now, this is going to be really pretty, especially if you lived through the 70s and did hallucinogenic drugs. But as far as presenting your data, this is not going to work, and you're going to see why. This is not a clear representation of how to present your data. There's just no information. It's kind of cool looking, but it's not good statistically. So this is why we wouldn't represent this. We would actually divide our data maybe by age categories and do it a different way. Let's try one other thing. Let's say that we are interested in maybe let's look at a line graph just to play around a little. We can look at, oh, that's not a bad one. let's go with highest level of school you've completed. And we can either do number of cases or percentage of cases. We can just do number of cases for this one, and we'll hit OK. And we can see here, for those people with a high school degree or equivalent, there's roughly 11 or so people, some college. If it's unclear at what the numbers are, roughly 23 people, I think, have a bachelor's degree, and looks about the same, have a graduate degree. If we're unclear, we can always go into this. We can add our data labels. We can make them a little bit bigger. We can take the background and make that a little bit nicer color. And then these words are awfully small. Remember, we're going to shrink this when we get it to the Word document. So we might want to make these a little bit bigger. I don't know how friendly this is going to be. It's not too bad. Can do the same with these labels over here. Can make these a little bit bigger. Because remember, once we get this into Word, we're not going to be able to change it. There's other things you can play with. You can play with the text, the chart size itself, the text style. If you want a different, you can do that in either place. I'm just trying to give you a little rough estimate of how we want to get to know our data and how we want to describe our data. I'm going to hit exit. There we go. I can analyze more than one thing. I can do more than one thing at a time. If I want to go into descriptives and I want to know about the age, how many children, total household size, how many bedrooms, I can do all of these. Their mean, minimum, maximum. I can hit continue. I can do them all at once, as you can see right here. Here's my labels. And if I copy this and I bring this over to my Word document, well, that's kind of ugly. Let me get that all on one page. This one that is unlike a chart, unlike a graph, I can actually move this one around a little bit. I can grab this side line right here. I can pull it out to meet my margins. Pull this over. Sorry about that. There we go. So you can play with this and you can get things to fit whatever you think looks best and work with it the way you need to. And this is just a good idea of how to get comfortable with a data set. I always check out what the labels are: gender, female, male. It's not that simple. Zip code, none, because the people are going to input it. Race, we can look at race, we can describe our race population. There's just lots and lots and lots of things we can do, but this is just a good starting point on how to get familiar with data and how to look at descriptives. Hopefully that is helpful, and I hope you have a great day. Thanks.